What would you do if you discovered your patient wasn't really in a coma? For 15 years, the heir to the Warren fortune has been lying motionless in his mansion bedroom, surrounded by luxury, but trapped in silence. When Sarah, a desperate nurse with mounting medical bills, takes a job paying 5 times her hospital salary, she knows something feels wrong from the moment she steps through those iron gates. The mansion staff avoid eye contact, rooms are locked without explanation, and her patient's muscles show strange signs of movement that shouldn't be possible after 15 years of immobility. What dark secret is hidden behind the walls of this estate? And why does Victoria Warren, the controlling sister who runs the family empire, watch Sarah's every move with such calculating eyes? This story of power, betrayal, and buried secrets will make you question everything you thought you knew about those who control the world's wealth. Keep watching. Some truths are too shocking to imagine. The rain pounded mercilessly against the windshield as Sarah Jenkins gripped the steering wheel of her beat-up Honda. Dark circles hung beneath her eyes. 3 back-to-back hospital shifts will do that to you. But today wasn't about her exhaustion. It was about Emily. "Just hang in there, sis," Sarah whispered, glancing at the crumpled job posting beside her. 5 times my current salary. This has to be some kind of mistake. As her GPS announced destination on right, Sarah's jaw dropped. The Warren estate wasn't just a house, it was practically its own zip code. Gothic spires pierced the stormy sky, while manicured gardens stretched endlessly in every direction. "Holy crap," she muttered, approaching the wrought iron gates. "What am I getting myself into?" The intercom crackled. "State your business." The voice was cold, clinical. "I'm Sarah Jenkins, the new nurse?" Silence. Then the massive gates groaned open. A stern-faced woman in a charcoal suit greeted her at the enormous front door. "Miss Jenkins, Victoria Warren, you're late." "I'm so sorry. The storm. Save it. Follow me." Sarah trailed Victoria through marble. Hallways adorned with paintings worth more than she'd earn in a lifetime. "Your patient requires round-the-clock monitoring. You'll live on site. No unnecessary questions. No visitors." Victoria's heels clicked aggressively. "Break my rules and you're gone, understood?" Sarah swallowed hard. "Yes, but who exactly am I caring for?" Victoria stopped abruptly, turning with a smile that never reached her eyes. "My brother, Michael Warren. 15 years in a coma, yet still the most powerful man in this city, or he would be if he ever woke up." Sarah's phone vibrated. "Emily's, a doctor. Payment needed before we continue treatment. Final notice." "When do I start?" Sarah asked. Victoria's eyes narrowed. "Desperate, aren't we? I like that. You start now." As Victoria led her deeper into the mansion, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling she'd just made a deal with the devil. Before we start this exciting story, drop a comment letting me know what city you're watching from. I'd love to give your comment a little heart. Now let's begin this thrilling story. "This way," Victoria Warren commanded, her Louboutin heels clicking against marble floors as she led Sarah through the mansion's labyrinthine corridors. Each hallway seemed darker than the last, the portraits of stern-faced Warren ancestors watching their every move. "Your predecessor left abruptly," Victoria remarked coldly. "Something about the isolation becoming too much. Weak-minded, if you ask me." Sarah clutched her nursing bag tighter. "How long has your brother been in this condition?" 15 years, 2 months, and 7 days, Victoria answered without hesitation. "Not that it matters. The doctors say he'll never wake up." They stopped before massive oak doors. Victoria's face softened almost imperceptibly. "Prepare yourself. Many find their first encounter with Michael unsettling." The bedroom was spacious but dimly lit, medical equipment casting eerie shadows across antique furnishings. In the center stood a hospital bed where a man lay motionless. "My God," Sarah whispered. Michael Warren didn't look like someone who'd been comatose for 15 years. His dark hair showed minimal gray, his skin pale, but not the waxy pallor she expected. Most surprising were his muscles, defined with only moderate atrophy. This doesn't make sense, Sarah murmured, checking the IV drips. These sedatives, they're heavy duty. Victoria's eyes flashed. Dr. Morris prescribes whatever's necessary. Your job is administration, not questioning. Sarah approached the bed, clinical training taking over. She checked Michael's vitals, noting everything on his chart. When she lifted his eyelid to check pupillary response, something extraordinary happened. His blue eyes focused on hers. Just for a second. Did you see that? Sarah gasped. See what? Victoria snapped. His eyes. I think he responded to stimuli. Victoria stepped between Sarah and the bed. That's impossible. It's an autonomic reflex, nothing more. But Sarah had seen it. Recognition, awareness, trapped behind those eyes. His chart says car accident? Sarah questioned, scanning the medical history. Yes, Michael was reckless, always pushing limits. Victoria's voice cracked with what sounded like genuine emotion. The accident destroyed everything. Our parents died shortly after. The grief was too much. Sarah noticed a small scar at Michael's temple, inconsistent with the accident description. Victoria's phone rang. Excuse me, I must take this. She stepped into the hallway. Alone with Michael, Sarah whispered, "Can you hear me? If you can, blink once." Nothing. Then, almost imperceptibly, his finger twitched. Sarah's heart raced. She quickly checked the dosage on his IV. "This is enough sedative to keep a horse unconscious," she muttered. Why would someone in a natural coma need getting acquainted? Victoria had returned silently. Sarah jumped. Yes, just assessing his condition. "Remember our arrangement?" Victoria's smile was glacial. "Your sister's treatment depends on your discretion. Some questions are better left unasked." After Victoria left, Sarah looked at Michael's still form, a chill running down her spine. What horror had she walked into? And was Michael Warren truly trapped inside his own body, conscious but unable to wake? His finger twitched again, and this time Sarah was certain it wasn't random, it was deliberate. Sarah's first week at the Warren estate passed in a blur of routine checks and sleepless nights. The mansion's oppressive silence was broken only by the ticking of antique clocks and the occasional hushed conversations that ceased whenever she entered a room. "They're hiding something," Sarah whispered to herself one morning, watching the staff scatter like frightened mice when Victoria appeared for her daily inspection. Mrs. Daniels, the elderly housekeeper, dropped a silver tray when Sarah asked about Michael's accident. "I don't know anything," she stammered, hands trembling as she gathered scattered teacups. "Please don't ask questions. We don't ask questions here." Later that day, Sarah encountered Thomas, the groundskeeper, tending roses beneath Michael's window. "Beautiful day," Sarah offered. Thomas glanced nervously toward the house. "Miss Warren doesn't like us talking to the medical staff." "Why? What's she afraid of?" His weathered face darkened. "The walls have ears, Miss Jenkins. 15 years I've worked here. Seen 3 nurses before you come and go. The last one, Miss Chen, disappeared overnight. Left everything behind." A chill ran down Sarah's spine. "What happened to her?" Asked too many questions. Thomas clipped a rose aggressively. "About the night of the accident." That evening, Sarah explored the mansions. West Wing, strictly off limits, according to Victoria. The corridor led to a locked office. Using the master key she'd borrowed from the nursing supply room, Sarah slipped inside. The office was frozen in time. Papers still scattered across the desk, a half-empty whiskey glass collecting dust. Michael's office untouched since the tow accident. Sarah rifled through drawers until she found a leather journal. Michael's elegant handwriting filled the pages. The final entry dated the night before his accident. V confirmed my suspicions. "The embezzlement is worse than I imagined. Millions diverted. Board meeting tomorrow. Everything comes to light. They won't see it coming." The journal slipped from Sarah's fingers. "Snooping already. That's a record." Victoria's voice cut through the darkness. Sarah whirled around. "I was just fired," Victoria finished, eyes glittering dangerously. "Pack your things." "If I leave, I'll go straight to the police," Sarah bluffed. Tell them how your brother's being kept sedated, how his accident conveniently happened before he could expose financial fraud." Victoria's laugh was hollow. "You think the local police aren't on our payroll? Besides, who would believe a desperate nurse stealing from a prominent family?" She opened her palm, revealing Sarah's hospital ID and the diamond earrings from her purse. "Found in the safe, such a shame." Sarah's blood ran cold. "You wouldn't. Your sister Emily's treatment costs what? $15,000 a month. Terminal illness is so expensive these days." Sarah felt sick. "How do you know about Emily?" "I know everything about everyone who enters this house." Victoria's smile was venomous. "So, we understand each other?" Sarah nodded, defeated. "Good. The West Wing is forbidden. Break my rules again, and it's not just your job you'll lose." That night, Sarah sat beside Michael's bed, tears streaming down her face. "What did you discover?" she whispered to his still form. "What are they hiding?" Michael's fingers twitched violently against the sheet. Suddenly, the bedroom door creaked open. Robert Miller, the family accountant Sarah had glimpsed at dinner, peered in. "He can hear you," he whispered urgently. "Meet me in the garden house at midnight. Come alone. I know what happened 15 years ago." Before Sarah could respond, he vanished. Behind her, Michael's heart monitor began to race. The garden house stood at the edge of the Warren property, half hidden by ancient oak trees. Sarah checked her watch, 11:55 p.m., and pulled her jacket, tighter against the biting autumn wind. Each snap of a twig made her heart race. "You came." Robert Miller emerged from the shadows, his thin face haggard in the moonlight. "I wasn't sure you would." "Tell me what you know about Michael," Sarah demanded. Robert locked the door behind them. "I was the family's accountant when it happened. Michael discovered irregularities in the company books, millions disappearing into offshore accounts. Victoria's doing? Among others." Robert's hands trembled as he lit a cigarette. "The night before his accident," Michael told me, "he was going to expose everything at the board meeting. Next morning they found his car wrapped around a tree. Miraculous he survived at all." Sarah's mind raced. "But why keep him sedated for 15 years? The will." Robert's voice dropped to a whisper. "Their father left everything to Michael. Victoria only controls the fortune while Michael is incapacitated. If he dies, a thorough investigation would be triggered, revealing the embezzlement. If he wakes up, he could tell everyone what he discovered," Sarah finished. "But the medical records, falsified. I've helped maintain the fiction." Shame crossed Robert's face. "Victoria pays well for loyalty. Why tell me this now?" Guilt. His eyes filled with tears. 15 years watching a man buried alive. "I can't do it anymore." The next morning, Sarah examined Michael's medical records with new understanding. One detail jumped out. 2 years ago, Dr. Morris had briefly reduced Michael's sedatives during a medication adjustment. The notes read, "Patient showed increased brain activity and potential for consciousness. Attempted vocalization, treatment plan adjusted to previous dosage levels per family request." Sarah felt sick. They'd nearly let him wake up, then deliberately pushed him back under. That afternoon, she located Dr. Morris's home address and drove. There, after her shift, desperate for answers, the elderly doctor who answered the door looked nothing like his staff photo, gaunt, trembling, eyes haunted. "I know about Michael Warren," Sarah said. "I know he's being kept sedated deliberately." Dr. Morris pulled her inside. "Keep your voice down." His living room was packed with boxes. "I'm leaving town tomorrow. Can't take it anymore." He poured himself a shaking glass of whiskey. "I tried lowering his sedatives once. He started to wake up. Victoria threatened my daughter's family if I ever tried again." "Help me," Sarah pleaded. "Tell me what sedatives to reduce first, how quickly I can bring him up safely. You'll both end up dead." Fear etched deep lines in his face. "Victoria has eyes everywhere." "My sister is dying," Sarah's voice cracked. "This job is her only hope. I can't leave, but I can't be part of this torture." Dr. Morris stared at her for a long moment before scribbling a protocol on his prescription pad. Reduce these two medications first by 10% every 3 days. Monitor for increased consciousness. If he begins to wake, you'll have 24 hours before. Victoria notices in the toxicology reports. As Sarah drove back to the estate, her phone rang. Emily's doctor. Miss Jenkins, I'm sorry. Your sister has taken a turn for the worse. Without the experimental treatment we discussed, she has weeks, maybe days. Sarah clutched the steering wheel, tears blurring her vision. 2 lives in her hands. Emily's treatment required money, Victoria's money. But saving Michael meant losing that lifeline. That night, standing over Michael's bed, Sarah made her choice. She adjusted his IV drip, reducing the first sedative by 10%. I don't know if you can hear me, she whispered, but I'm going to help you wake up. His fingers twitched against the sheet, once, twice, almost like he was trying to say thank you. 3 days had passed since Sarah began reducing Michael's sedatives. His vitals were stronger, brain activity increasing. Twice, she'd caught his eyes following her across the room. Brief moments of lucidity before the drugs pulled him back under. Meanwhile, Emily's condition deteriorated. Each phone call from the hospital brought worse news. The experimental treatment is her only hope, Dr. Patel had said that morning, but we need a deposit by Friday. Sarah paced Michael's room, torn between loyalty to her patient and saving her sister. Victoria had promised a substantial bonus after 3 months. Money that would come too late for Emily. What would you do? She whispered to Michael. The door clicked open. Sarah froze, expecting Victoria's accusing glare. Instead, Mrs. Daniels shuffled in, nervously glancing over her shoulder. You're helping him, the housekeeper said. Not a question, but a statement. Sarah tensed. I don't know what you mean. I've worked here 30 years. I knew Michael since he was a boy. Mrs. Daniels approached the bed, eyes glistening. He was kind, not like the others. She pressed a small key into Sarah's palm. His father's study, behind the portrait of the sailing ship, a safe. The combination is Michael's birthday. What's inside? The truth. Mrs. Daniels hurried out, leaving Sarah stunned. That night, while the household slept, Sarah crept to the study. The portrait swung aside, revealing an old wall safe. With trembling fingers, she dialed Michael's birth date, 03/24/1982. The safe contained a single envelope, yellowed with age, marked Last Will and Testament in bold letters. Sarah read by flashlight, her heart racing. Old Mr. Warren had indeed left everything to Michael, but with a stipulation. Should Michael die without heirs, the fortune would go not to Victoria, but to charitable foundations. Victoria would inherit nothing. A handwritten note was paperclipped. To the will. Michael found this in father's true will. Victoria has created a false version. Be careful. Andrew Thompson, family attorney. The date was 1 day before Michael's accident. Looking for something? Sarah spun around. Robert Miller stood in the doorway, eyes wild. I found the will, Sarah whispered. Victoria gets nothing if Michael dies. You shouldn't have come here, Robert's voice cracked. They're watching everything. Who's watching? Victoria hired me to monitor you after our meeting. Shame crossed his face. I'm sorry. She knows you're reducing the medications. Sarah's blood ran cold. My sister will suffer the consequences. Robert looked genuinely pained, just like my family would have. Victoria doesn't make idle threats. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Go, Robert hissed, through the service stairs. I'll say I was checking the accounts. Sarah clutched the will to her chest and fled. In her room, she photographed every page, before sealing the documents in a waterproof bag and hiding them beneath a loose floorboard. The next morning, Victoria summoned her to the study. I know what you've been doing. Victoria's voice was ice. Did you really think you could outsmart me in my own home? Sarah's mouth went dry. I don't. Your sister's condition is quite grave, isn't it? Victoria examined her manicure. Shame if her treatment was suddenly discontinued. Sarah's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Emily's doctors dropped her case. Payment refunded. You monster, Sarah whispered. Victoria smiled. Increase Michael's medication to previous levels, destroy whatever you found in the safe, and Emily gets the best specialists in the country. Refuse and watch her die slowly. Your choice. Why keep him like this? Sarah's voice shook. Why not just kill him? Death triggers the will. Victoria's eyes gleamed with malice. Besides, Michael always wanted to change the world. Now he does, as a cautionary tale to anyone who crosses me. Sarah thought of Emily, of Michael trapped in his own body for 15 years. An impossible choice. You have until morning to decide, Victoria said. Choose wisely. Sarah stood by the window in Michael's room, watching rain lash against the glass as dawn broke. She hadn't slept, torn between her sister's life and Michael's freedom. The will remained hidden beneath her floorboard, a ticking time bomb. I can't. Let Emily die, she whispered, reaching for the IV to increase Michael's sedatives. His hand shot up with unexpected strength, gripping her wrist. Sarah gasped. Michael's eyes were open, clearer than she'd ever seen them. No, he croaked, voice raw from 15 years of silence. Please. The door swung open. Dr. Thompson, the family's former physician mentioned in the note with the will, stood frozen in the doorway. My God, he whispered. It's true. He's waking up. Sarah pulled Dr. Thompson inside, locking the door. How did you know? Robert Miller contacted me yesterday, said you'd found the will. Dr. Thompson approached Michael's bed cautiously. Michael, can you hear me? Michael's eyes focused with effort. Andrew, how long? 15 years, Dr. Thompson said, gently. Victoria's been keeping you sedated. Pain crossed Michael's face as memories flooded back. The embezzlement. I found proof. Sarah explained Victoria's ultimatum, her voice breaking when she mentioned Emily. We need to get you both out of here, Dr. Thompson said. My clinic has security. Once Michael's lucid enough to sign affidavits about what Victoria did, she'll destroy all evidence before then, Sarah interrupted. And my sister doesn't have time. Michael struggled to sit up. In my office, hidden compartment, behind bookshelf, evidence. I'll get it, Sarah promised. But first we need to make sure Victoria doesn't suspect you're waking up. They devised a plan. Dr. Thompson would create false medical charts showing Michael's condition unchanged. Sarah would continue reducing sedatives when no one was watching. Meanwhile, they'd gather evidence against Victoria. Be careful, Dr. Thompson warned. Victoria didn't act alone. Robert's involved. But there are others. After he left, Sarah sat beside Michael, who drifted between consciousness and sedation. My sister, Sarah explained. She has a rare autoimmune disorder. The treatments are experimental, expensive. Michael's fingers weakly squeezed hers. Save her. I'll help when I'm stronger. That afternoon, Sarah searched Michael's office. Behind the bookshelf, she found a hidden safe containing financial records, photographs, and a voice recorder. The recording featured Victoria and Robert discussing the embezzlement with a third voice, one Sarah recognized with horror as Dr. Morris. Adjusting his medication was a mistake, Dr. Morris was saying. He nearly regained consciousness. Fix it, Victoria snapped, or your grandchildren will join him in permanent sedation. The evidence was damning. Sarah copied everything onto a flash drive, then returned to Michael's room, only to find Victoria standing over his bed. Feeling better, brother dear? Victoria's voice dripped with venom. Nurse Jenkins has been experimenting with your medication. How inconvenient. Sarah froze in the doorway. How did you... Security cameras. Did you really think I wouldn't monitor him? Victoria turned, eyes glittering. Dr. Morris called. Seems you visited him. Foolish man. He won't be bothering anyone again. Sarah's blood ran cold. What did you do? Nothing permanent. Unlike what I'll do to your sister if you don't hand over. The will and whatever else you found. Michael's eyes fluttered open. He looked directly at Victoria. You won't win, he managed. Victoria paled. Impossible. The dosage... was reduced, Sarah said defiantly. He knows everything, Victoria. It's over. Victoria's laugh was hollow. You think this is just about money? Look deeper, Sarah. The Warren Empire isn't built on honesty. Michael was going to destroy everything, including people you care about. She pulled out her phone. One call, and Emily's treatment stops permanently. Sarah looked at Michael, whose eyes conveyed a silent message. Stall. Her why, Sarah asked. Why betray your own brother? Victoria's face twisted with rage. He betrayed us first. Our father built this company with blood and sacrifice. Michael wanted to dismantle it all for his pathetic ethics. The standoff in Michael's room stretched into suffocating silence. Victoria's finger hovered over her phone, ready to end Emily's treatment with a single call. Sarah stood frozen between them, the flash drive burning in her pocket. Give me everything you found, Victoria demanded. Now. A soft chuckle came from the bed. Michael's eyes were fully open, more alert than Sarah had ever seen them. Always. So predictable, Vicky, he rasped. You never check the angles. Victoria whirled toward her brother. What are you talking about? Michael's trembling finger pointed to the corner of the ceiling. Security cameras. Work both ways. The blood drained from Victoria's face. You're bluffing. Dr. Thompson. Live feed. To his clinic, everything recorded. Each word seemed to cost Michael tremendous effort, but his eyes burned with 15 years of suppressed rage. Police already on their way. Victoria lunged for the IV stand. You're going back under! Sarah tackled her, sending them both crashing into medical equipment. Victoria fought with desperate strength, her manicured nails drawing blood from Sarah's cheek. You don't understand, Victoria screamed. He'll destroy everything. Thousands of employees will lose everything. Michael struggled to sit up, his atrophied muscles straining. Only the guilty will pay. Victoria broke free, grabbing a syringe from the medical tray. Sarah scrambled after her, but Victoria was faster, plunging the needle toward Michael's IV line. With a surge of strength that seemed impossible, Michael grasped Victoria's wrist. Brother and sister locked eyes, his filled with determination, hers with terror. 15 years, Michael whispered hoarsely. 15 years listening to everything, trapped in my own body, hearing you threaten, scheme, murder. Victoria's composure shattered. You were conscious the whole time, every moment. Michael's voice strengthened with each word, fueled by rage. Every conversation by my bedside, every confession, every murder order. The syringe slipped from Victoria's fingers. She backed away, suddenly resembling a frightened child rather than the ruthless businesswoman who had terrorized everyone. I can't prove anything, she whispered. The bedroom door burst open. Police officers flooded in, led by Dr. Thompson. Victoria Warren, you're under arrest, announced Detective Reynolds, a stern-faced woman who had clearly been briefed. We have evidence linking you to the attempted murder of Michael Warren, embezzlement, and the death of attorney James Foster. As officers handcuffed Victoria, Sarah rushed to Michael's side. Freed from the sedatives, he was fully conscious, but weakened from years of immobility. Emily, Sarah said urgently. My sister, already taken care of, Dr. Thompson assured. Her. I called the hospital myself. She's being transferred to my clinic tonight. Best specialists in the country. Michael gripped Sarah's hand. Thank you for believing in me. When no one else did, she squeezed back. I need to know what she said about your company destroying people. Pain flickered in Michael's eyes. Half-truths, designed to manipulate. The Warren Foundation funded research that had side effects. Emily's condition might be one of them. Sarah gasped. You knew, suspected. When I discovered it, before the accident, I was gathering evidence. Victoria and her partners covered it up. His eyes held fierce determination. I'll make it right. I promise. As paramedics prepared to transfer Michael to the hospital, Victoria paused at the doorway between officers. This isn't over, Michael, she hissed. You think I acted alone? They'll never let you expose them. Michael met his sister's gaze steadily. "Let them try. I've survived 15 years of your betrayal. I'm not afraid anymore." As Victoria was led away, Michael turned to Sarah. "Stay with me. I need someone I can trust." Sarah thought of Emily, soon to receive the treatment she desperately needed, of Michael, finally free after years of conscious imprisonment. "Yes," she promised, "I'll stay." 2 weeks after Victoria's arrest, Sarah sat beside Michael's hospital bed, watching him struggle through physical therapy. Each movement was agony for him, muscles relearning tasks they'd forgotten over 15 years of disuse. "Enough," the therapist said as Michael collapsed back against the pillows, sweat beading on his forehead. "You're pushing too hard." "Not hard enough," Michael gasped. "The board meeting, 3 days away." Sarah squeezed his hand. "You don't need to be there in person. Your legal team, I need to look them in the eyes." Michael's voice hardened. "The people who helped Victoria, who profited while I was buried alive." News of Victoria Warren's arrest had exploded across media outlets. Warren Enterprises' stock plummeted as allegations of fraud, embezzlement, and attempted murder surfaced. Yet through it all, Michael's resolve never wavered. Detective Reynolds entered the room, her expression grim. "Mr. Warren, we have a situation." Michael struggled to sit upright. "Victoria?" "She was being transferred to the county courthouse for arraignment," Reynolds said. "The transport vehicle was attacked, 2 officers down. Your sister escaped." The blood drained from Michael's face. "When?" 40 minutes ago. We've got roadblocks up, but she won't be on the roads," Michael said. "Check private airfields, offshore accounts. She'll have an escape plan." Sarah felt ice spreading through her veins. "Emily, already handled," Reynolds assured her. "We've moved your sister to a secure wing. Armed guards outside her door." After the detective left, Michael turned to Sarah, his eyes haunted. "This is my fault. I should have seen this coming." "None of this is your fault," Sarah insisted. "Victoria made her choices." Michael's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. His hand trembled as he read it aloud. 15 years wasn't long enough to teach you, brother. This time, everyone you care about pays, starting with your nurse's precious sister." Sarah's heart stopped. "We need to check on Emily now." They arrived at Dr. Thompson's clinic to find chaos. The guard outside Emily's room lay unconscious, her door standing open. Inside, medical equipment beeped steadily, but the bed was empty. "No, no, no." Sarah collapsed against the wall, her world shattering. "She can't even walk on her own. Where would they take her?" Michael made a series of urgent calls while Sarah sobbed. Dr. Thompson arrived minutes later, ashen-faced. "Security. Footage shows 2 men in orderly uniforms," he reported. "They had access cards. Inside job." Michael's expression darkened. "Robert Miller, he's still working with her." A nurse rushed in. "Mr. Warren, there's a call for you at the station." On speakerphone, Victoria's cold voice filled the room. "Hello? Brother missing something?" "Where is she?" Sarah screamed. "She needs her medication." "Oh, she has it, for now." Victoria's laugh sent chills down Sarah's spine. Such an expensive treatment. Would be a shame if it stopped. Michael's knuckles whitened around the phone. "What do you want, Victoria?" "Transfer $5 million to the Cayman account. Destroy the evidence against our board members. Sign a statement confessing that you fabricated the allegations due to mental instability from your coma. And Emily, you'll get coordinates once I'm safely away." Sarah grabbed Michael's arm. "We have to do it. Emily won't survive without—" "Don't trust her," Michael warned. "The moment she's safe, we lose all leverage." Victoria's voice hardened. 24 hours, Michael. After that, your nurse's sister has a tragic reaction to her medication." Tick-tock. The line went dead. Michael turned to Dr. Thompson. "How long can Emily survive without her treatment?" 36 hours at most before organ systems begin failing." Sarah paced frantically. "We have to find her now." Michael's eyes gleamed with sudden determination. "Robert Miller, he's the key. Victoria needs him to access accounts, arrange transport." But the police haven't found him, Sarah argued. They're looking in the wrong places. Michael struggled to his feet, defying his weakened body through sheer willpower. I know Robert better than anyone, and I know exactly where he'd take Emily. Against medical advice, Michael checked himself out of the hospital. His body was weak, but his mind burned with 15 years of pent-up determination. Sarah drove as Michael directed her through winding country roads to an isolated lakeside property. The Warren family hunting lodge, Michael explained. Been in our family for generations. Victoria used to bring Robert here for their liaisons. Sarah gripped the steering wheel tighter. You think Emily's inside? Victoria would want her somewhere remote but familiar, somewhere with medical equipment. Michael winced as the car hit a pothole. After my accident, they renovated the basement into a medical room, just in case they needed to contain me differently. The lodge appeared deserted when they arrived. Michael signaled for silence as they approached. Through a basement window, they spotted Emily lying on a hospital bed, connected to IV fluids. Robert Miller paced nearby, checking his watch nervously. No sign of Victoria, Sarah whispered. She's smarter than that, Michael replied. She won't be anywhere near the hostage. They were debating how to enter when Sarah's phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. Running out of time, brother. The money or her life? Michael texted back from Sarah's phone. Proof of life first. Video call. Minutes later, Sarah's phone rang. Victoria appeared on screen, her elegant appearance unchanged, despite being a fugitive. You have 1 hour, she snapped. The transfers... Where's Robert? Michael interrupted. Let me speak to him. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Why? He needs to verify the transfers are legitimate. You know I could send you locked funds. Victoria disappeared from frame. Moments later, Robert's nervous face appeared. The funds, Michael, he stammered. Victoria says, hello, Robert. Michael's voice was eerily calm. Remember our fishing trips here? How you taught me to tie fishing knots? How you were like an uncle to me before you betrayed me? Robert paled. Michael, please. You're at the lodge, aren't you? Northwest bedroom. Victoria's favorite. Robert's eyes widened in panic. The phone clattered as he rushed from frame. Victoria reappeared, her composed facade cracking. What did you do? She hissed. Michael smiled coldly. Police just surrounded the lodge. Robert's under arrest. Emily's safe. Impossible. You're bluffing. You forgot one thing, sister. When you kept me prisoner in my own body, I heard everything, including the renovation plans, the security codes, your contingency strategies. As if on cue, sirens wailed in the background of Victoria's call. It's over, Michael said, but you're right about one thing. Victoria didn't act alone. Sarah looked at him confused. Victoria laughed bitterly. Finally figured it out? Took you long enough. The board wasn't just covering embezzlement, Michael continued. They were hiding something worse, the pharmaceutical division's experimental treatments, including the one that caused Emily's condition. Sarah gasped. What? Tell her, Victoria, Michael demanded. Tell her how our company created the disease to sell the cure. Victoria's eyes blazed with defiance. We created greatness. Medical breakthroughs require sacrifice. Father understood that. Father was a monster, Michael spat, and you became just like him. Gunshots echoed through Victoria's connection. She glanced behind her, then turned back to the camera, blood trickling from her lip where she'd bitten it in fear. They're going to kill me, she whispered. Clean up loose ends. For the first time, Michael saw real fear in his sister's eyes. Who? Victoria? Give me names. Westmoreland, Peterson, the entire executive board. Victoria's voice shook. They ordered everything. Your accident, the embezzlement to fund the research. A final gunshot rang out. Victoria crumpled forward, the phone falling to show a shadowy figure standing behind her. The call ended abruptly. At the lodge, police rescued Emily while arresting Robert, who immediately began trading information for leniency. Sarah held her sister's hand as paramedics stabilized her. It's not over, Michael said, watching Robert being led away. It's only beginning. 6 months after Victoria's death, the Warren mansion stood transformed. Gone, were the oppressive shadows and hushed corridors. Sunlight streamed through windows that had been shuttered for years. Construction crews moved purposefully through the grounds, converting the East Wing into rehabilitation facilities. Michael, still using a cane, but growing, stronger each day, supervised the renovations from the terrace. The Warren Neurological Rehabilitation Center would open in 3 months, his answer to 15 years of darkness. The board members are all in custody, Detective Reynolds reported, joining him. Robert Miller's testimony was damning. 5 executives facing charges of conspiracy, fraud, and murder. Michael nodded grimly. And the research files. FDA investigators were shocked. Testing experimental compounds on unknowing populations, creating conditions they could then treat at astronomical prices. Reynolds shook her head. It's unprecedented. Not unprecedented, Michael corrected. Just never exposed before. Sarah approached, clipboard in hand. The first patient rooms are finished. Physical therapy equipment arrives next week. In the months following Victoria's death, Sarah had become Michael's right hand, overseeing the mansion's transformation while balancing time with Emily, whose condition had stabilized under proper treatment. Any word from Dr. Thompson? Michael asked. Sarah's expression darkened. Still missing. His clinic was cleaned out the day after Victoria. After what happened, the suspicious disappearance of the doctor who had helped them haunted them all. Another loose end being cleaned up by whoever had killed Victoria. Michael's phone rang. His lawyer. The pharmaceutical division is fighting the settlements, Michael reported after the call, claiming no direct evidence links Emily's condition to their trials. Sarah slammed down her clipboard. They destroyed records. We know what they did. Knowing isn't proving, Michael said bitterly, but I won't stop fighting. Every victim deserves justice and proper treatment. That evening, Sarah found Michael in his father's study, surrounded by old photographs. You never talk about them, she observed. Your parents? Michael's fingers traced a family portrait. My father was brilliant, ruthless. He built Warren Enterprises from nothing but the cost. He shook his head. My mother knew something was wrong. The clinical trials, the sudden illnesses in communities near our facilities. She threatened to expose him. What happened? Car accident. At least that's what everyone believed. Michael's eyes hardened. I was 17, started investigating after college. Found patterns, whistleblowers silenced, data manipulated. That's why Victoria hated you, Sarah realized. You were becoming your mother. I thought I could change things from within, reform the company, make amends. A bitter laugh escaped him. Instead, I spent 15 years a prisoner while they continued hurting people like Emily. Sarah touched his shoulder. You're making amends now. A crash from the hallway interrupted them. They rushed out to find Emily collapsed on the floor, her body convulsing violently. No, Sarah screamed, dropping to her knees. Call an ambulance. Michael was already dialing, his hands shaking. What happened? She was improving. Within minutes, paramedics rushed Emily to the hospital. Sarah rode in the ambulance while Michael followed behind, his mind racing. This was no coincidence. Not after the board members' arrests, the ongoing lawsuits. At the hospital, doctors worked frantically to stabilize Emily. Sarah paced the waiting room, inconsolable. Her medications were working. She sobbed. She was getting better. Michael made calls to his security team, then approached the doctor who had pumped Emily's stomach. Was there anything unusual in her system? He demanded. The doctor hesitated. We found traces of an experimental compound, not approved for human use. It appears to have triggered a catastrophic autoimmune response. Sarah overheard. Someone poisoned her. Who would? Michael's face was ashen. The same people who silenced Victoria. They're sending a message. Drop the lawsuits or everyone I'm trying to help will suffer the same fate. For 3 days, Emily hovered between life and death. Sarah refused to leave her bedside. Her world narrowed to the rhythmic beeping of monitors and her sister's shallow breathing. Michael used his fortune and influence to bring in specialists. From across the country, but even they seemed baffled by Emily's rapid deterioration. "The compound in her system is unlike anything we've encountered," Dr. Reeves, the lead specialist, explained. "It's almost as if it was designed specifically to interact with her existing condition." "It was," Michael said grimly. "Warren Pharmaceuticals created both the disease and the poison." On the fourth night, Sarah dozed in the uncomfortable hospital chair when Emily's monitors began shrieking. Medical staff rushed in, pushing Sarah into the hallway as they fought to stabilize her sister. "Please," Sarah sobbed, collapsing against the wall. "Please don't take her too." Michael held her as she broke down, his own eyes hollow with guilt. "This is my family's legacy. Suffering. Death. I'm so sorry, Sarah." Hours later, Dr. Reeves emerged, exhausted but with a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "We found something," she said. "In the research files seized from Warren Enterprises, an experimental antidote developed but never distributed. We synthesized it, but..." She hesitated. "It's untested. High risk." Sarah didn't hesitate. "Do it." The next 24 hours were agonizing. Emily's body fought the antidote, her temperature soaring to dangerous levels, seizures racking her fragile form. Sarah whispered encouragement through cracked lips, praying to a God she wasn't sure she still believed in. "Fight, Emily," she begged. "Please fight." Meanwhile, Michael was fighting his own battle. The board members awaiting trial had all mysteriously received bail, despite the severity of their charges. His sources reported emergency board meetings, executives fleeing the country. "They're burning everything," Detective Reynolds reported. "Records, research, witnesses." Michael made a decision. That night, he called a press conference outside the hospital. "My name is Michael Warren," he began, his voice steady despite his trembling hands. 15 years ago, I discovered that Warren Enterprises was deliberately creating medical conditions through contaminated water supplies and pharmaceutical trials, then profiting from the treatments." Cameras flashed as he continued. "My own sister, Victoria Warren, conspired to keep me in a medically induced coma to prevent me from exposing these crimes. Now the remaining conspirators have poisoned an innocent woman to silence me." His voice broke. "I will not be silenced. Every victim will receive care at my personal expense. Every criminal will face justice." The fallout was immediate. Warren Enterprises stock plummeted. Federal agents raided offices worldwide. And suddenly, doctors who had been hesitant to help found new courage. A week after Michael's press conference, Emily opened her eyes. "Sarah," she whispered, her voice weak, but lucid. "What happened?" Sarah, who had aged years in days, wept with relief. "You're going to be okay now. Everything's going to be okay." Recovery was agonizingly slow. Emily's poisoned body struggled to heal, each small victory overshadowed by setbacks. But gradually, impossibly, she improved. 6 weeks later, Emily took her first steps in the garden of the Warren mansion, now her temporary home during recovery. Sarah supported her on one side, Michael on the other. "The doctors say I might make a full recovery," Emily marveled, watching butterflies dance among the roses that had once terrified the mansion's staff. "I never thought I'd feel hope again." Michael watched them, his own heart healing alongside Emily's body. The mansion that had been his prison now housed 20 other victims of Warren Enterprises experiments, all receiving state-of-the-art treatment. That evening, as Emily rested, Sarah found Michael in his study, surrounded by medical files. "You saved her," Sarah said simply. Michael shook his head. "I endangered her. My family hurt her. I can never undo that." Sarah took his hand. "But you're trying. That's what matters." For the first time in years, Michael smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. Maybe there's hope for the Warren legacy after all. The trial of the century, as media outlets called it, was scheduled to begin in 3 days. Warren Enterprises. Executives faced charges ranging from fraud to attempted murder. Michael had spent months building an airtight case, working with prosecutors to ensure no one escaped justice. Sarah entered his study one morning to find him staring at a newspaper, his face ashen. "What is it?" she asked, setting down his coffee. Michael silently passed her the newspaper. The headline screamed, "Victoria Warren found dead in prison cell." "Heart attack, they're saying." Michael's voice was hollow. "Just like that, she's gone." Despite everything Victoria had done, Sarah saw the complex grief in Michael's eyes. His sister, his torturer, his last blood relative, was dead. "I'm sorry," Sarah said, meaning it. "Despite everything, she was still my sister," Michael finished. "The little girl who once followed me everywhere, before father poisoned her mind." The official report claimed Victoria died of natural causes, i.e., sudden cardiac arrest in her prison cell. No signs of foul play, but Michael couldn't accept it. "She was 39, in perfect health," he insisted to Detective Reynolds. "This wasn't natural." Reynolds looked uncomfortable. The prison doctor signed off on it. Case closed. Convenient timing, don't you think? 3 days before she would testify against the board. That afternoon, Michael called in favors to get access to Victoria's body. The private pathologist he hired worked through the night while Sarah stayed by Michael's side, watching him struggle with conflicting emotions. "I hated her," he confessed as they waited. 15 years watching from inside my own body as she threatened staff, manipulated everyone, hearing her laugh about keeping me prisoner. But you loved her once," Sarah said gently. "She was 6 when our mother died," Michael whispered. "She crawled into my bed every night for a year, crying. I promised I'd always protect her." His voice broke. "I failed." The pathologist's report arrived by morning courier. Traces of a sophisticated toxin in Victoria's system, untraceable except to those who knew exactly what to look for. "They silenced her," Michael said grimly, "just like they tried with Emily, just like they did with Dr. Thompson." Sarah watched the myriad emotions war across his face. Grief, rage, guilt. "What will you do?" "What I should have done 15 years ago." His voice hardened with resolve. "Burn it all down." At Victoria's funeral, only 3 people attended: Michael, Sarah, and Mrs. Daniels, the elderly housekeeper who had helped them. Rain poured relentlessly as Victoria's coffin was lowered into the Warren family plot. Michael stood motionless, leaning heavily on his cane. "She wasn't always like this," he told Sarah after the simple service. "There was good in her once." As they turned to leave, a sleek black car pulled up. Robert Miller emerged, now gaunt from months in custody awaiting trial. "Special permission to attend," he explained, his hands cuffed before him. "She loved you, you know. In her way." Michael tensed. "She had a strange way of showing it." "Your father taught her that love was weakness," Robert said. "That power was the only currency that mattered." He hesitated. "There's something you should know. Something she told me before everything fell apart." "What?" Michael demanded. "Your accident wasn't supposed to happen that way. They were just going to discredit you, ruin your reputation. The breaks, that was someone taking matters into their own hands." Robert looked away. Victoria was horrified when she found out. But by then, the board had leverage over her too. Keeping you sedated was her penance. Penance. Michael's voice cracked with disbelief. "She tortured me for 15 years. "I'm not defending her," Robert replied quietly. "Just telling you what she couldn't." As Robert was led back to the patrol car, Michael stood frozen by his sister's grave, the rain mingling with tears he hadn't realized he was shedding. "I don't know how to feel," he confessed to Sarah. She took his hand. "You don't have to know. Not yet." 1 year after Victoria's death, the Warren mansion buzzed with activity. The rehabilitation center now operated at full capacity, giving new hope to dozens of patients. Emily had become the facility's volunteer coordinator, her own recovery inspiring others. Michael and Sarah stood on the terrace, watching the sunset paint the gardens gold. Their relationship had evolved gradually, neither willing to acknowledge. The growing feelings between them until the trials were over, the guilty punished. "The last executive was sentenced today," Michael said, his voice lighter than Sarah had ever heard it. 20 years. No possibility of parole. It's really over, Sarah marveled. Michael turned to her, taking her hands. Not everything should end. Their first kiss was gentle, tentative. Two people who had witnessed too much suffering, learning to trust joy again. 6 months later, they married in those same gardens. Emily, now fully recovered, served as maid of honor. Former patients filled the seats where once Warren Enterprises executives had plotted destruction. I never thought I'd find happiness again, Michael said in his vows, voice breaking. 15 years in darkness taught me the value of light. You are that light, Sarah. Their son Thomas was born the following spring, named after the groundskeeper, who had first warned Sarah something was wrong in the mansion. The baby's laughter echoed through corridors that had once held only whispered fears, yet shadows remained. Michael still woke screaming some nights, trapped in dreams where he was conscious but immobile. Sarah sometimes found him sitting by Thomas's crib at 3 a.m., simply watching him breathe. I keep thinking someone will take him, Michael confessed one night. That I'll wake up and these years of happiness will have been the dream and the prison of my body the reality. Sarah held him as he shook with suppressed sobs. This is real, she promised. We're real. The Warren name, once synonymous with corruption, gradually became associated with healing, with second chances. The fortune that had been built through suffering now funded research into cures, into prevention. On Thomas's first birthday, Michael took his small family to the family plot. Victoria's grave stood apart from the others, rarely visited. I want him to know everything, Michael told Sarah as their son played with fallen leaves. The good and the bad, who we were and who we've become. We'll tell him together, Sarah promised, when he's ready. Michael placed a single white rose on his sister's grave. Goodbye, Victoria, he whispered, finally ready to let go. 1 year after Victoria's death, the Warren mansion buzzed with activity. The rehabilitation center now operated at full capacity, giving new hope to dozens of patients. Emily had become the facility's volunteer coordinator, her own recovery inspiring others. Michael and Sarah stood on the terrace, watching the sunset paint the gardens gold. Their relationship had evolved gradually, neither willing to acknowledge the growing feelings between them until the trials were over, the guilty punished. The last executive was sentenced today, Michael said, his voice lighter than Sarah had ever heard it. 20 years, no possibility of parole. It's really over, Sarah marveled. Michael turned to her, taking her hands. Not everything should end. Their first kiss was gentle, tentative. Two people who had witnessed too much suffering, learning to trust joy again. 6 months later, they married in those same gardens. Emily, now fully recovered, served as maid of honor. Former patients filled the seats where once Warren Enterprises executives had plotted destruction. I never thought I'd find happiness again, Michael said in his vows, voice breaking. 15 years in darkness taught me the value of light. You are that light, Sarah. Their son Thomas was born the following spring, named after the groundskeeper, who had first warned Sarah something was wrong in the mansion. The baby's laughter echoed through corridors that had once held only whispered fears, yet shadows remained. Michael still woke screaming some nights, trapped in dreams where he was conscious but immobile. Sarah sometimes found him sitting by Thomas's crib at 3 a.m., simply watching him breathe. I keep thinking someone will take him, Michael confessed one night. That I'll wake up and these years of happiness will have been the dream and the prison of my body the reality. Sarah held him as he shook with suppressed sobs. This is real, she promised. We're real. The Warren name, once synonymous with corruption, gradually became associated with healing, with second chances. The fortune that had been built through suffering now funded research into cures, into prevention. On Thomas's first birthday, Michael took his small family to the family plot. Victoria's grave stood apart from the others, rarely visited. I want him to know everything, Michael told Sarah as their son played with fallen leaves. The good and the bad, who we were and who we've become. We'll tell him together, Sarah promised. When he's ready, Michael placed a single white rose on his sister's grave. Goodbye, Victoria, he whispered, finally ready to let go.